He was doing a benefit for Dennis Banks.
Tony Bennett?
Yeah. And Marlon was there. When Marlon was alive, I was telling Tony tonight, I said, before I go to the spirit world, I want you to teach me one song. Just one song. And the name of that is Tennessee Waltz. It's a country song. Da, 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 dee, 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 dee. I remember the night and the Tennessee waltz when an old friend happened.
I remember the night and the Tennessee waltz. Now I know just how much I have lost. Yes, I lost my little darling.
You know, when I began to think about all this, well, I've been talking about going to the spirit world for all my life. You know, when I go to the spirit world, and I talk to my grandchildren about that. Now, when I go, now you guys don't want this to happen. I even I prepared a living will. So what happens the day I die? What happens? You know, who's going to conduct my services? Which is Terry Nelson up in Roosevelt River. And because him and I like to gamble, I said no gambling till after 6 o'clock at night. It's not a sad, it's not a crying time. It's a time of remembrance. You know, I don't want people to come here to bury me. I want them to come here to remember me, and saying, okay, how did he live? That's the most important thing. How did Banks live?
His name had become inscribed in history with the likes of his high-profile supporters, with events like the occupation of Alcatraz, the Washington, D.C. Bureau of Indian Affairs takeover, and the mythical Wounded Knee Siege. But it was an earlier event from his days stationed in Japan that would weave itself back into current history. Dennis's first encounter with Japanese Buddhist monks, separated by a fence, was to bring him 20-some years later to meet the most venerable Nichidatsu Fujikawaji, who was to join the longest walk in 1978. Several monks came with him and stayed on the lifelong journey with Dennis, marching in peace walks and sacred runs across many nations of the world.
My name is Jun Yasuda. I'm originally from Japan, Tokyo, and I came here 1978. Longest walk.
The longest walk of 1978 was led as a response to 11 congressional bills that were to deny land, hunting, and governing rights to a number of American Indian tribes across the country. Over 5 months, the walk covered 3,000 miles. It consisted of several hundred AIM leaders, activists, and supporters, a Japanese delegation, giants of American history such as Marlon Brando, Muhammad Ali, Ted Kennedy, and Stevie Wonder, as well as Hopi spiritual leader Thomas Binyaka. They walked from San Francisco to Washington, D.C., where they arrived triumphantly, successfully defeating every single one of the 11 bills in Congress, as well as passing the American Indian Religious Freedom Act. "30 years later, to the day, in 2008, the longest walk too began. Once again, conch shells were blown, drums were beat, and the AIM song resonated through Alcatraz Island. A group made of original longest walkers, AIMsters, youth of all tribes and walks of life, as well as the ever-loyal Buddhist monk delegation led by Jun San, set out on a new journey, who together covered 8,000 miles over the same 5 months, carrying to D.C. the 3 messages of clean up Mother Earth, protect sacred sites, and all life is sacred. Several artists lent their talent and energy to the benefit concerts held across the country.
Yeah, everybody on the longest walk, 2 on down, right? 78, way high.
sky on fire. Hold on tightly to your dreams, not knowing when and where to go. Your heart will take you there, not knowing what to expect. You won't find no despair. There's no regret, save destiny says that there's no use. I speak from a breeze to a strong wind. Your road has its reasons to be free, like the seasons change. There's no wrong in good loving now and then. What does it take to make you see I believe in you? A man I can trust in my life. Where do you go when a woman calls out the need in you?
I want you to know that I'm deeply committed to the cause for which we are gathered here today. I love you, praise you, I'm glad to be with you, and I will be with you until the end.
Hold on tightly to your dreams, not knowing when and where to go. Your heart will take you there, not knowing what to expect. You often know despair.
In 1988, Dennis and friends set out on an intercontinental sacred run from Onondaga Six Nations territory to San Francisco onto Hiroshima, Japan, and trekking all the way to the northern part of the island onto the province of Hokkaido, home of the Ainu, the indigenous people of Japan. This run was one of many to take place across the world. 13 sacred runs were held, and countless walks were led throughout the Americas, Europe, Russia, and Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. As the nuclear threat continues to grow more so than ever today, treaties are still being broken, the land rights taken away. The longest walks and sacred runs must continue. In 1990, Dennis's world expanded as he crossed paths with a man who was to become one of his closest friends, Masao Yamamoto. With him, he was welcomed into the world of Sumida and Piazza Group, ever expanding a circle of friendship, projects, and a space of cultural learning and exchange.
First time I met these banks, so that time I was so surprised. He made just exactly same voice and way with our shrine people. Then I feel familiar with him very much.
Long before the Europeans came to our lands, the Anishinaabe people traveled about from lake to lake, and oftentimes using the many rivers and creeks to navigate from village to village to attend ceremonies and spiritual gatherings. The canoe was very important to the Anishinaabe, primarily a vehicle to transport commerce. It was also used for hunts and food gathering excursions and camping at the wild rice beds on Leech Lake, Mud, and Goose Lakes.
With Mr. Yamamoto's friendship, innovation, and support, they created together the great Anishinaabe Canoe Race Yamamoto Cup, which for the last 10 years has taken youth from the Leech Lake Reservation and around Minnesota to reclaim a critical tool of their culture, the canoe.
Down the way we're down in Disney cars, so Seashak Dode and Anishinaabe, Gitchida, Three Fire Society, Gathering of Sacred Pipe Sundance, American Indian Movement. We used to put up teepees here. We used to have sweat lodges, you know. Ceremonies all the time. Had to build a fire. Out for our tobacco. Before we got in that water, we put our tobacco in the fire or in the water and asked the Creator. Asked the Creator to canoe with us today.
I'm not afraid to die. I hope to die. I hope to die. When you get really old, you hope to die because it's time to go.
Because you're in pain. You don't want your back to hurt.
Yeah, it's time to go. You know, you've done your life, and hey, I'm gonna check out of this life. I got a spirit world to go to. There might be some chicks up there waiting for me.
Chicks?
Yeah, Chica might be up there.
Chica's not up there.
Oh yeah. Well, she will be around soon. I'll go make a place. I'll go make a nice place. And see how that sky is over there? See how it is?
Yeah.
I'll go form a nice place up there.
The gods are waiting for you, Grandpa.
The gods are waiting.
They'll cut the string when they want to cut the string.
Yep. I say, cut the string, man. Let him go. Let him go. Had to go. What the heck?
To my loved one, and while they were waltzing, my friend stole my true love from me. I remember the night and the Tennessee waltz. Now I know just how much I have lost. Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing the beautiful Tennessee waltz. I remember the night and the Tennessee waltz. Now I know just how much I have lost. Yes, I lost my little darling